So, you've been filmed doing something you shouldn't have been doing on the live feed for a tournament filmed and broadcasted to millions across the world. Do you A, apologize given there's plenty of evidence there and accept the consequences of your actions, or B, deny it ever happening even though you were literally filmed doing it?
36.
All right, is that your final answer?
The situation of the Spanish FA and Jenny Hermoso after the Women's World Cup is probably one of the most surreal stories you're going to hear about and know about that this year has to offer. It's a story of lip-sync, lying, and hunger strikes. But it's an important story that needs to be told and one that needs to find a resolution soon for the sake of all Spanish football. Now, if you weren't keeping up to date with the Women's World Cup, obviously Spain beat England 1-0 in the final. Massive moment for Spain's women's side. It's an area of the game over in Spain that's been growing massively recently, with Barcelona, of course, being a mighty force in the women's game. The tournament itself, the win should have been all about the players, but it really felt that at no point it ever was, because going into the tournament, a number of high-profile players had already boycotted the squad after allegations of inappropriate behavior from its manager and also people working within the federation. This was already something that was massively on Spain's footballing radar before a ball was even kicked. And then on the biggest stage of them all, as the players were collecting their medals and ready to lift a trophy, once again this victory was not about them, because the Spanish FA's president, Luis Rubiales, grabbed Jenny Hermoso and kissed her on the mouth, right? And it seemed to be a very weird thing to do under the circumstances, and it's not even one of them continental things where you meet a French person and they just start like kissing your cheek out of nowhere. It was very weird behavior, to be honest with you, and it wasn't consensual, as Jenny would later confirm. But in a strange way, what's actually happened afterwards is even crazier than the initial action, because what happened after that is probably some of the worst PR work that I've ever seen in football. So straight off the back of this happening, a statement from Jenny Hermoso comes out backing her FA president, right, defending him. But something seems strange, right? It felt a little bit off with the statement. Well, what might have seemed off was that it wasn't her that wrote it. Yes, a doctored statement that the Spanish FA put together on behalf of Jenny Hermoso was what was released first. Now, this is crazy. Straight off the bat, that is just manipulation, straight off, completely falsifying and faking a statement. There's definitely, that has to be illegal, so I'm gonna say that they allegedly did that. But apparently, on the flight home even from the tournament, the entire time on the plane, big officials who work for the Spanish FA or higher-ups were trying to convince the players to defend their president when they got off the flight, when they would be asked about it by the media. Jenny would then make her own statement properly, in which she actually confirmed that it was not consensual. They made her feel vulnerable and ultimately ruined a massive moment in her career. Now, Rubiales and his family and stuff have played off this and basically pretended that she's changed her story. Obviously, in reality, it wasn't her that actually wrote the first statement. Rubiales himself said that it was consensual, but if we look at the picture, if you ever have to grab the back of somebody's head to do something, then they probably weren't in on it when you went to do it. As I said, the craziest part of all of this has been the PR disaster that's come from the Spanish FA following on, because they've outwardly defended Rubiales at basically every single point, saying that in actuality, Hermoso lifted him up and that the president didn't even grab the back of her head, even though it's literally video. It's in 4K. I don't understand what they thought they were watching.
Looks like a one-off though, doesn't it? A crazy flash in the pan, don't you think?
And even if Hermoso did lift him up, that's still very different to just lip-syncing someone in the workplace. So anyway, a few days pass, there's rumblings and rumors that he's gonna resign, right? And he calls a press conference. And this is where things get surreal again, because instead of resigning at this press conference, he basically starts doing up some like cult ritual stuff and just starts chanting over and over again that he's not resigning. Now, this is in front of Spanish coaches and higher up members, of the Spanish Football Association. Vilda, the women's national team manager, and De La Fuentes, obviously the men's national team manager, are watching on as this guy says, "Do you really think I would resign over a peck?" This is so surreal as a story. So now the story's gone from "I didn't do that thing that you saw me do" to "I did do it, but I didn't do it hard enough, so it's not actually a problem." It is absolutely crazy, because it makes me wonder what people within the Spanish FA actually think is acceptable behavior. behavior. The feed cut into a senior official making eye contact with one of the players from the stands as it goes 1-0 in the final. You're just making them feel uncomfortable, and it is literally the FA at war with the players again. I mentioned that a lot of players had boycotted the team already before the World Cup even started. A collective statement of support for Jenny Hermoso has now been signed by 81 players on the women's side of the game, I believe, just the women's side of the game. So 5 days on from winning the Women's World Cup, there is no Spanish national team anymore. It doesn't exist. The ramifications have been big already. There's protests across the country. Cadiz and Sevilla's men's squads have voiced their support for Jenny Hermoso. Atletico Madrid's women's side unfurled a banner while she was in attendance from the stands. Borja Iglesias said that he wouldn't be involved in the men's national team until something is changed. Hector Bellerin, Isco, and multiple others have spoken out about it on social media. Teams are doing non-playing protests where they'll start the game late in order to try and get him out of the door. The next El Clasico is going to be a shocker if he's still in charge by then. The coaches have now all resigned for the women's national team apart from their manager Vilda, and FIFA have now suspended Luis Rubiales from all footballing activity and from contacting Jenny Hermoso until further notice. You know, when FIFA are taking the moral high ground, something is catastrophically wrong. And still, the Spanish FA are defending him, consistently calling Jenny Hermoso a liar. And there can't be any benefit of the doubt attributed because this has been going on for a long time now. This is something that multiple players, including Alexis Putellas, this is something they've been talking about before the World Cup even started. And the longer this goes on for, the more it's looking like an institutional problem within the Spanish FA. A cultural problem, if you will. Not for Spain, I don't mean it like that because they've been out protesting, but I mean within the Spanish FA as an association itself. Before Jorge Vilda was in charge of the national team, the manager all the way from I think 1988 to the mid-2010s was a guy called Ignacio Carreira. Now this guy was known for, again, severe misconduct, mistreating his players. There's even videos of him like squeezing them and slapping them really hard, and like you can actually see like some pain on their faces, and this is what he's just doing in training, let alone behind the scenes or in the dressing room. Now, in the aftermath of this guy's reign, a documentary called Breaking the Silence came out in 2021, and it featured a string of interviews from players that played under Carreira during his 27-year reign, which, may I remind you, was the longest ever in international history. During the documentary, it outed a culture of bigotry, sexism, and even homophobia, whilst an openly gay footballer was on the team, as well as the fact that female players' hotel rooms weren't allowed to be locked at night, which just seems absolutely mental to me. They've got a long history of trying to sweep this sort of stuff under the carpet, have been twisting statements, manipulating the situation, and putting pressure onto players and coaches to toe the party line. And in this situation, it's come back to bite them. It's gonna make them look like a laughing stock. I mean, how do they actually think they can act? Jorge Vilda's gonna be devastated when he realizes he can't super like players from his squad on Tinder. This is the craziest denial of anything ever. But wig on me and call me Linda. Actually, no, you probably shouldn't, because Luis Rubiales will get very inappropriate with me. So the Spanish FA are apparently even asking UEFA to expel them from the organization because of the Spanish government's intervention into the situation, and that would mean that all Spanish clubs would be kicked out of UEFA competition like the Champions League, Europa League, etc. How is Sevilla gonna win their 57th Europa League if this happens, lads? It is so stupid, and just in case you thought it couldn't get any more ridiculous, Luis Rubiales' mum has gone on a hunger strike to protest the sort of vilifying and the witch hunt, so-called, of her son. She's locked herself in her local church and is on day 2, 3 as the time you're seeing this video, of a hunger strike.
What is going on here?
Who let any of them cook? Well, actually, no, none of them are cooking because she's not eating at all. I remember back in my day when people used to hunger strike for important things. She was at least enjoying a daily glass of air when she had it this evening.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice. That is bloody lovely.
She's gonna need to eat at some point though, man. At least get her a snack or something, man. Get her some chocolate, like, you know, Hershey's Kisses. No, probably not a good choice, actually. So with all that said and done, this is one of the biggest stories to hit Spanish football in the last decade. Regardless of what they do from here, they've handled this about as badly as any association can handle anything. Their reputation is in the bin. The bar is at an all-time low, and they have shown that they see actions such as those from Luis Rubiales as completely normal, and further just reinstated the fact that there is that institutional problem within the Spanish FA. They have been used to whatever their previous manager was getting up to since the late 80s. Whoever's in charge, the higher ups there, are glossing over these fundamental problems that have been going on clearly for a while now, given the complaints that the Spanish women's team had before the World Cup even started. Either way, we've got to get the Spanish FA's president out of there somehow. Like and subscribe. Spain, listen, you've got brownie points because paella's great in it, but your football association needs to fix up.